Hello, hello, we are live, and today I am talking about all things speaking gigs. Now, before you start saying, oh, but I'm employed and I'm not a speaker or anything else like that, listen up because this is for you too. Now, don't be fooled by the fact that if you look on LinkedIn, I have got a top public speaking voice, golden top it's called, not a blue top, but golden top. And this is for my contribution in some of the articles, which are AI generated by LinkedIn, but my contribution is not. My contribution is real life and usually from a different perspective, offering different kind of hints and tips really on speaking. Now, why might you want to tune into this? Why might you want to listen to this? And why might you want to learn from this? Well, as usual, I'm streaming in 3 places simultaneously. I'm streaming on YouTube. Find me at Jenny Kovacs, and please subscribe while you're there. I would like to really grow the following on there so that I can put out some more juicy nuggets for you there. If you're a LinkedIn person, and I'm most active actually on LinkedIn, then by all means, go into LinkedIn, have a search and look for Jenny Kovacs, the Queen of Being Seen, and you'll find me. And if you're more of a Facebook person, you like to scroll and have a look on your phone, you'll find my business page there, which is Jenny Kovacs, the Queen of Being Seen. Or even more easily, you can tag me in or find me by typing at visibility vibe, but without the S. Long story, long time ago that I set up that page. So feel free to follow me, like me, or connect with me in any of those places. So let's just get something straight. For some of you, you are self-employed professionals. Maybe you're consultants, maybe you're a coach, maybe you are an author, maybe you are already a speaker. Maybe you are a business owner who's aspiring to speak. Either one of any of those. But also the people that sometimes get forgotten, which is why I speak to a lot of people within HR, a lot of people within marketing, and a lot of people within sales, are the employed professionals who sometimes think that speaking gigs are just for the influencers of Instagram or the people that go out and love public speaking. So let me share with you a quick story because I think this serves both fields, whether you're employed or self-employed. A number of years ago, I was speaking at a conference, and this conference had multiple speakers throughout the day. I was one of those speakers, alongside actually Jason Fox, which was really cool. But that's another topic for another time. And in this conference, or at this conference, right at the end, there was a Q&A session. And in the Q&A session, one of the audience members had said, we really enjoyed this, but we didn't see very many female speakers. Now, this is not going to be a gender discussion. But what was interesting was that the audience, or within the audience, I would say about 40% of the audience were female, identified as female. Yet there was this kind of notion that the females weren't included to speak, which for this particular organisation actually wasn't true. They're one of the most diverse, most inclusive organisations, whether it's gender, race, religion, or anything in between. So I knew that this wasn't the issue. But I also knew that a lot of those employed professionals weren't putting themselves forward. And the reason people often don't put themselves forward to speak is because they don't think they are a quote unquote speaker, or they think there's more to do. They don't feel ready, or a bit of imposter syndrome kicks in. So if you're one of those people, I'm making this video today for you too. So I am in the middle of a marathon, I guess. I am looking to either stream live or make videos for 365 consecutive days. And today is actually day 78. So I feel like I'm just starting to settle into the pace now, just starting to pace myself, breathe, and all of that kind of great stuff too. So the reason I wanted to talk to you today about things to include and things to avoid for more speaking gigs is because there are a lot of things you can do. Don't get me wrong. There are a lot of moving parts in terms of speaking, but sometimes they get twisted. People press their nose up against a window and they have a look. Now, the thing to remember is I am the visibility queen because visibility is my specialist subject, it's my topic. So whether you're doing it from a page and you're getting your writing out there in the world, whether you are doing it from a stage and you're physically speaking or presenting, or whether you're doing it from the screen via video, live stream, webinars, or anything else online on social media even, I actually specialize in the visibility behind it to get you out there. So a couple of things that I'm going to just jump straight into. So there'll be things to avoid and things to do. So you have to forgive me. I haven't got my glasses on and I will quickly kind of look at my notes and I might squint at you like this. So these are going to be very different than the things that you would normally hear, like make sure you have a show reel. Important in some cases, but actually not necessary. And I've spoken with some well-known speakers who are keynote speakers and get paid like multiple thousands to speak. I've spoken with people that have just got started. I've spoken with people that have been subject matter experts within their organization or within their industry who speak for free. And many of them don't actually ever get picked on a show reel. In fact, I'm going to go as far to say that a show reel is often the thing that stops us. Now, think about this. You are maybe a business owner or a business professional, and you are aspiring to get more speaking gigs. You're aspiring to be on more podcasts, which these days tend to be video more than just audio. And you want to get yourself out there and you start looking and you see the rhetoric that says you need to have a speaker's reel. Well, there are easier ways for people to be accessed. And this comes from someone who has personally spoken at places like Google, at the QE2 Centre, at the Excel Centre, and at lots of other places throughout London. I've spoken on stages in America. I've done a lot of speaking gigs, both in person and online. I've spoken at conferences. I've spoken to business groups. I've spoken to groups of authors, groups of business owners, to small groups, large groups, thousands of groups and thousands of people at the same time. And never have I ever been turned down for a speaking gig based on the fact that I don't have a show reel. So something to avoid is stressing about not having a show reel. If it makes you feel like that's the best way for you to put yourself out there and get yourself represented, that's fine, but don't let it stop you from getting the gigs anyway. Okay, and I'm going to talk about what you can do instead. Other thing to do, sometimes we get motivated or pumped or something, and in the moment we're like, yes, I'm going to do this. Yes, I'm going to speak. Yes, I'm going to, get myself out there. I'm going to raise my profile. I'm going to do the thing, and we get ourselves pumped. And then an opportunity comes along and we find ourselves saying, actually, yes, I'm going to do this. And that's all well and good. Do you know how many times I have been maybe invited to speak at a tele summit, which is like an online conference, if you like, or at anything in person and online, somebody has said yes, and then they've either not shown up or ghosted the host. Now, I know on the outside looking in, people say, well, that's rude. How can they do that? And I understand why you might think that. But in my experience, especially as adults, we're a little bit afraid to say that we're afraid or we're feeling the fear. So what we'll tend to come back and say, if we say anything, is, oh, I'm not feeling very well. I'm still tired from COVID. I've got a stomach bug. Something's happened with the kids. I've got an emergency. And what we'll do is look for a way to get out of it. Now, I'm not saying that those things never happen, but if you think about it, if I've got a speaking gig booked and something else comes up, because the speaking gig is booked, that definitely takes priority. And unless there is a life or death situation, I am still going to show up to that speaking gig, even if I'd planned to stay there for a lot of the day, most of the day, some of the day, and I end up making my apologies and having to shoot off. and explaining that too. So I see and hear this a lot. A lot of hosts will kind of contact me in a panic and say, oh my gosh, this person has let us down at the last minute. Do you know of anybody? So let your yes be a firm yes. And if you've got any concerns, any worries, or anything else like that, behind the surface, behind the scenes, under the surface, I'll get my mixed metaphors done properly. Then if you have anything like that, then address those so that you can give your best performance and really get out there in a way that boosts you. Okay, so third thing to avoid when looking for more speaking gigs, and I've just remembered, if I do this, I think on here it won't. My thumb looks really strange on that view. I don't think it will do the thing that it does on my phone. So I'm just being careful. You've seen fireworks, you've seen balloons, you've seen confetti, you've seen all sorts. So third thing to avoid doing. Now, this comes from a conversation that I had just recently. I was being interviewed for a podcast, and I met up with the host, who I know quite well. And we were having this conversation, and they were like, I don't know why I never thought about getting you on before, but when you said this thing, I was like, yeah, absolutely get this person on. And they said it actually spurred me on to invite a block of people, make a block of recordings and get people on there. And they told me that they had to re-record one of their episodes, and another one that they thought actually was so bad that they weren't even going to bother re-recording again, because whenever they asked the person the question, the person didn't answer the question. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm a chatterbox. I can go around the houses because I want to give context to what I'm saying. So we weren't talking about that scenario. We're talking about where the person suddenly has this crisis of confidence live on screen in a short time period, or a specific time period, where they are the expert, they're sharing their stuff. They need to show not just their credibility, but share something useful with the audience. And they just lost the plot. They lost the plot and rambled, didn't answer the question in any shape or form, didn't give any context. And, for the topic, and I'm not going to share the topic, but for the topic that they spoke about, it was kind of mismatched. It's a bit like me talking about confidence on camera all the time, going, so today, I'm going to talk about confidence. Oh my gosh, I can't do this on camera. I mean, how persuasive is that? So I get, again, that imposter syndrome can sometimes jump in, but it should never jump into that effect. So if you've got something that's kind of going under the surface, a bit like you see the graceful swan gliding on the water, but underneath they're clearly doing that. If that is starting to show and your wings are flapping and your head's squawking and you look discombobulated or feel discombobulated, you can do something about it. You don't have to go back to corporate. You don't have to change jobs. You don't have to confess all, in a appraisal, end of year appraisal. You don't have to out yourself on a 360-degree survey. You don't have to do any of that. You just need to take a breath. I always say, write down what's going on for you, which sounds strange when it's about yourself, because you kind of should know, but actually it doesn't work that way. But more than anything, work with a mentor or work with a coach. I have worked with plenty of high-flying, confident people who hit a crisis of confidence over the years and recognize they have an issue. Most of them will reach out and contact me, and we'll look at how we work together, whether it's a month bite size or whether it's a 3-month, 7-month, or whether it's a one-day thing. And some of those, thanks to very good founders and owners, really great and astute HR people who look after their talent, very good sales managers who know how to really grow the quality of their own team and grow them on their strengths. And lots of really switched on and savvy marketing managers and marketing directors who know that in order for their marketing strategy to work for the organization, for the company, for the business, for the firm, that if they can have various people throughout the business on board with being more visible and combine it with their strategy and their strategic aims, that they get a big return on investment. They get a lot of bang for their buck. So I've only shared 3 things. I'm actually mid writing at the moment, and also going to write a little article about this, where I'm going to actually share 7 things to include and 7 things to avoid. So for now, I'm sharing 3 things. So we've done the 3 things to avoid, and that's saying yes and then not showing up, because regardless of the reason, it does damage your reputation, and people are looking for people that they can rely on. And if you're anything like me, you'll get booked back again and again and again. So don't think, oh, well, it's just the way it was, and go and not show up. And even worse, ghost people. Don't do that. Don't do the thing where you are, not answering the brief and you are kind of avoiding the subject and letting the crisis of confidence get to you. But what you do want to do instead, and don't get stuck on the show reel. That was the first thing I said. Don't get stuck on the fact that you think you need a show reel, or you think that you need to present a certain way or be a certain way in order to get taken seriously. So here are 3 things that you can do. So if you don't have a show reel, or you're just getting started, or you are looking at maybe growing that element of your business. So in my business, there's training and coaching, there's consulting and mentoring, and also a big part of what I do is speaking too. So if you're looking at growing that as part of your business, maybe you haven't really paid much attention to it. Maybe it's something you want to start. Maybe it's just something you want to grow, something you want to be more known for. And many people do that from a visibility perspective to raise their professional profile. Then what you do instead of a show reel is you demonstrate that you speak. And I don't mean you go online necessarily or offline and show off and speak to everybody about the fact that you're speaking. What I mean by that, and again, I'll give you an example. I had a host contact me and ask me whether I could speak for their organization. I went through, looking at whether we're a good fit. I'll always look at whether not we're a good fit in terms of do we clash in personalities, but does what they need and what I provide, is it like a marriage made in heaven, or is there somebody that could do it better? I was once contacted by the BBC. In fact, I was contacted many times to do, I got contacted quite a lot to do a lot of BBC 5 Live segments, all breakfast time segments, nice and early, and a lot of time to do BBC segments through various regions throughout the UK. And one morning I was contacted and asked whether I could comment on a specific topic. And I remember saying to the producer, I could comment on this topic and I could do it justice, but I actually know of somebody who I think would be far better to talk about this topic than me. Can you give me a few moments? Because normally the timelines are quite short. It was that morning. Can you give me a few moments? I'll see if I can get hold of them. And I'll connect you both, call you back, connect you both. So that's what I did. Thankfully, the person who was brilliant at this particular segment, they were there. I quickly told them what the producer told me, put them both in contact, and hey presto, I think within an hour they were live on, it was definitely BBC Radio. It might have been 5 Live, but it was definitely BBC Radio. So they were a better mix. They were a better fit. So when I'm speaking to people about speaking, if I recommend somebody, it depends on the producer. The producer might just go from my recommendation. The talk host or the event host might go on my recommendation, especially if they know me and they've booked me before. But sometimes they'll want to kind of just get an idea of your style. They don't need to see you punch in the air and pacing the stage with your microphone attached to the side of your face. They're not looking for how much brilliance you can breathe over their people. They're just looking for your speaking style. What are you like, just so that they're not kind of going in without any reference. So you can emulate this by being online. So if you've got a website, talk about the fact that you are open to speaking opportunities and be very specific about which ones. Do you want to speak at conferences? Do you want to speak to local business groups? Do you want to only speak online? Do you want to speak in person? Do you want to travel planes, trains and automobiles and go all around the world and be an international speaker? Are your talks more motivational? Are they educational? Are they inspirational? Are you more of a tough love, just get it done? Are you sweary? That's important for a lot of people. If you're a sweary speaker and stuff like that, all of these things can easily be solved by showing them on your website. If you are on social media, and I kind of class YouTube is kind of social media, but not actually. If you're online on something like YouTube, are there any clips of you speaking, or are all your videos of you standing and showing the buddleia plants with the beautiful bees and butterflies, and we never see your face, never see you, don't know what you're about, what you do? This is super important. This becomes a show reel. And I can tell you categorically, not only for clients that I've spoken to, but I know for myself, I was once asked to do a half an hour segment on BBC with Nicky Campbell. Still my favorite experience ever, because he's such a professional, and so great as well with the listeners and with facilitating those conversations. And I remember I've just lost my train of thought then. What was I going to say? Oh my gosh, this is what you get for not writing down a script, which, by the way, you don't ever need. But I've got no bullet points today, and I've already gone for 21 minutes. Oh my goodness, what was I about to say? I'm trying to rewind in my head and remember. Oh well, I'll have to drop that, and if I remember, I'll have to come back and do a separate video and post the link to you. Totally gone out of my head. Oh dear. Anyway, so showcase your speaking style. Showcase your speaking style. Okay, so the next thing, have some sort of bio that you can share. Oh, that's what I was going to say. When I did that segment and I asked, is there any information I could share? Because I always have a bio. Literally, if any of you ask me for a bio, the minute I see the message and know where to send it to, whether it's a private message or an email, as long as it's a good fit and you're not just trying to pick my brains on a bio thing, I can send it to you instantly. And the person at the BBC said, no, it's fine. We've done our research on you. I didn't know where they'd been, whether it was just my website, any of my social media. I don't know where they'd been, how they'd found it, but they were happy with what they saw. Not a single show reel in sight. Okay. Relieved that I remembered that. Second thing is, yes, make sure that you include this thing when you're raising your profile for more speaking gigs. Have a bio. That bio can be, identical, or you might massage it as you're sharing it with people. Not enough people have this. And this is why in the High Impact Visibility Club, which is a £9 at the moment, £9 a month membership club, which is about $11 for my Canadian and American friends. This is why I have included in there a template, so that we can have a directory of all of you. I'm not going to use it for marketing purposes. I'm not going to sell your information on, but it means that at the drop of a hat, if somebody wants you to do some speaking for them, I know exactly what I can do to get them in front of you and get you in front of them. Okay, so make sure that you have something that's ready to go. It shouldn't take you 3 weeks to send it through. I don't care how busy you are. We all get a lunch break. We all get an after work time. I know you've got kids and caring responsibilities and all sorts of different things to do. But when you have something that you can, I say concertina it out, so you can shrink it down or stretch it out if you need to, then this is going to work really, really well for you. And then the third thing, which is almost a surprising thing, oh, which one shall I pick? Which one shall I pick? Yes, I'm going to go for this one. Be that person that's ready to go. Now, a really great mentor of mine used to bang this drum and bang this message into us again and again and again. Be so ready that you could rock up and speak in the next half an hour if you want to. And how do you do that? You do that by having a signature talk. Again, you can concertina it. So somebody could say to me, Jenny, oh my gosh, this thing's happened and I need you to speak to an audience of ABC. And this is what we're looking for. And I can meld my signature talk into them for a 10-minute talk, a half an hour talk, a 45-minute talk, a 90-minute talk, a 3-hour talk. And each of those will usually be interactive. Obviously, the shorter the talk, the more nuggets that I want to make sure that I can share. But I have two goals. One, to have the host look like an absolute rock star and an absolute legend. And two, to have people feel excited about being visible again, or still being visible. So those are my two goals. Those are what I aim for. And I'm always ready. And this has been tried and tested from, a business owner who had COVID and was due to deliver a session for her clients. And she was just so unwell, she wasn't able to. She literally sent me a message and said, is there any way, I know this is short notice and I will of course pay you, but is there any way that you can do this? I also remember a company, which I'm obviously not going to name, but a company who had something prepared for months. And unfortunately, their speaker was taken ill the day before. And in under 24 hours, I was contacted. I had a call, saw how my work and their work could make a really beautiful baby. And we, less than 24 hours, I was able to speak. And that was a miracle in itself. The only reason I was able to speak was because the next day, that night, I was going to a Christmas party. So I blocked out the next day to do admin stuff because I thought late night, traveling, maybe a few glasses of wine. I don't know what I'll be like the next day. So as it turned out, I had the space to do it in my calendar the next morning, and nobody suspected a thing. Well, maybe the internal staff that I showed up and not the other person. But that was for 400 people. And I want you to be that kind of ready, because what I do know for sure, and what clients have shared with me for sure, is that over the years, people, they have sleepless nights the night before. They are up changing their mind. They're up making convoluted slides. They're worried that they're going to come across as boring. They're worried that their, colleagues are going to see them in a different light and not a great light because of how they've shown up and what they've done. I don't want that for you. I always want you to be ready. So if you're watching this and you know of somebody else within your organization or on your team that might need to watch this, please share this. There'll be a link on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on Facebook that you can share this. And if you are curious about the High Impact Visibility Club, I drop lots of juicy nuggets in there. I share your work. We stand shoulder to shoulder. So this is a kind of space where we embrace everybody in there. And in the accompanying group that goes with it, you can share your work, you can share your links, you can share whatever you want to do, because we're all adults in there. But most importantly, we together will make a higher impact. And rather than just being the change you want to see in the world, we'll actually be that change in the world. We'll actually empower ourselves and empower others along the way, so that you can have the kind of impact that you dreamt of when you started your business. That's it for today on a very hot day. I can open the windows now, let the train noises in. I hope this has been helpful to you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sharing. And thank you for those of you who comment. Bye for now.